welcome you to the first session of the Benchmark Assessment webinar presented by our lovely consultant, Chrissy Moritz. I'm joined today by Hannah Barr, Cheryl Savage, and Sam Brown from Heinemann. And so if you have any technical issues throughout the webinar today, please feel free to reach out to us in the chat box. I also want to encourage everybody to use that chat box. And hopefully you'll take advantage of having this time with Chrissy and provide questions and feedback in that chat box. So I am going to give it over to Chrissy now. I'm going to just give her a quick introduction because she's got a lot packed into today's session. So Chrissy is joining us. Chrissy Moritz is a National Board Certified Teacher who's taught grades K through 2 at Title I schools in North Carolina and Virginia. She's also worked as a reading recovery teacher, a coach, a literacy coach, professional development, an adjunct professor at the East Carolina University, and she's presented all on early literacy all across the United States for Heinemann as well for herself, but for Heinemann for Fountas and Pinnell, all of Fountas and Pinnell. And you might actually recognize Chrissy because she does a lot of our customer-facing webinars as well. Whenever we have new products, updates on products, we always say, Chrissy, will you please do a webinar? So we're very pleased to have you back and taking time to go over the benchmark assessment with our lovely educators. So welcome, Chrissy.
Thanks, Sherry, and welcome everyone. I love seeing in the chat box just a moment ago all the different places teachers that are joining us today. That's just one of the great things about these webinars is that no matter where you are, what state or what country even, we can all come together and learn together. And what a timely point in the school year for us to be talking about benchmark assessment system, because if you're like me, you're moving into that end-of-year testing window and seeing how far our students have grown across the year. And so this benchmark assessment system is just a phenomenal tool to help us measure that growth and see those areas where our students have expanded their repertoire as readers. So as Sharon was saying, we do have quite a bit packed into this webinar series, and just to remind you of our overarching goals for the series, number one, we want to familiarize ourselves with the benchmark assessment system components. My hope is that at the end of this series, you walk away feeling confident and comfortable with using all the components and really using this as a tool to gain better insights into the behaviors that your students are exhibiting as readers. We're going to spend some time practicing coding, scoring, and analyzing reading records in a standardized way. We want to make sure that when we're taking our reading records, it means the same thing as when our colleague down the hall is taking one. And we could swap records and really hear that reader read that text, because again, we're doing so in a very systematic way that keeps our assessment standardized. We'll talk some about summarizing results of reading accuracy, fluency, and comprehension, giving us that whole picture of a reader, knowing what their strengths are as well as their needs for next steps in instruction. And then that guides us into our next goal of using those assessment results to guide decisions about grouping students, selecting text, and selecting goals for instruction. Now, when it comes to our work together today, we're going to begin with a benchmark assessment system. You'll see me often refer to it as the BAS, overview. Again, familiarizing each other with the different components that are included. And then we'll spend a lot of time today having to go with coding reading behaviors. We're going to cover everything from how to mark accurate reading all the way down to sounding and spelling out, really capturing just about any behavior we would observe in a student as they're reading with us. So we're going to jump into today's session by starting off with a quote from Anna Reed Bonsonville, when they have written, "Effective teaching begins with what we know about learners and their literacy." And every time I read that quote, I'm reminded of another quote by Abraham Lincoln when he once said, "If you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend the first 4 sharpening my axe." And both of them really get to the heart of the idea that In order to get a job done, we have to spend that time up front sharpening our tools and, in this case, really knowing really finding out what we can learn about our readers. So I want to start just by opening up the chat box to you all. In your experiences, what type of information have you found to be beneficial in helping you know where to begin your literacy instruction? What's given you those insights? What's helped you to sharpen your axe, so to speak, in knowing where to go in your instruction? Take a moment to respond. Starting to see some responses filter in. So Rita was sharing knowing students' interests, their areas of background knowledge, absolutely. And, that can be through conversations with students, taking a look at the types of books that they'd like to choose and having conversations about books while they're being read and afterwards. Looking at their decoding, sight word recognition, fluency levels, absolutely. Letter sound, phonemic awareness, familiarity with concepts about print, building on skills. Relating to children, certainly thinking about their different needs and their experiences. Thinking about English language acquisition, what they know about the English language, how it sounds, how it works. Different assessments like math testing. Star progress monitoring. Great. So it sounds like there's a wide range of assessment information that you all are using to, again, get that picture of where your students are as readers. One of the things that I think that you're going to find about benchmark assessment system that's going to be giving such quality information is that we're assessing students as they're reading authentic text. So that gives us the opportunity to see how they apply those phonemic awareness skills, their decoding abilities, how their fluency sounds, everything else that you all mentioned in that chat box while they're reading continuous text. So while they're engaged in actual reading of various fiction and nonfiction books. So it's really a nice authentic snapshot of our students as readers. With the benchmark assessment system, you're going to find that it helps you to determine the different levels in which students are reading. And if you think about a benchmark as being a standard upon which something is measured, the books in benchmark assessment system are those benchmarks. And so as they're reading the different texts, we can see, what behaviors are they exhibiting as readers that are leading them towards proficiency. Benchmark assessment system is broken up into two different groups. Benchmark assessment system 1, which focuses on our primary grades, readers who are reading levels A through N, typically grades K through 2. And in that system, you're going to find 14 fiction texts and 14 nonfiction texts, one at each level. With Benchmark Assessment System 2, it spans the ranges of levels L through Z, typically used with grades 3 through 8, and contains 15 fiction and 15 nonfiction texts. You're going to see, as you see, there is some overlap across the two systems, and that allows for students who are reading slightly above grade level to be assessed with Benchmark Assessment System 1, and then those who are reading slightly below grade level to still have some text to be assessed with in Benchmark Assessment System 2. For those overlapping levels, the texts are different in each, yet they were written according to the same characteristics or same level of difficulty. So there are separate texts for levels L, M, and N across those two systems. Here you can see the Douglas and Canal text level gradient and the suggested ranges at which of reading per grade level. So again, as Sherry was saying before, we officially started our session tonight. We're covering a wide range of users in this session. So some of you may be using, as you'll see, BAS 1, so Benchmark Assessment System 1, second edition. Some are using BAS 2, second edition. Others of you are now using the third edition, so BAS 1, 3E, BAS 2, 3E. And the reason I just point that out at this point is in the footer of some of the slides, you're going to see page references. And so when applicable, I've tried to cross-reference across the 4 different systems and 2 different editions when we are digging into the assessment guide. So just think about, according to the pictures up here, which one are you? Are you a BAS 1.2E, BAS 1.3E, and so on user? And that will help you to know which pages to turn to in your text. So regardless of the edition or the system that you're using, when administered once, the Benchmark Assessment System information can help you to determine 3 different reading levels for your students. It's going to help you to determine their independent level, to give you an idea of where they can read without the support of a teacher. It's going to help you to determine their instructional level, which is often primarily used to help guide your instruction in guided reading. And then it's also going to help you to determine the hard level, that level at which students are reading below the accuracy criteria and or the comprehension criteria. Texts at that level are going to be ones that are more suitable for shared reading or interactive read aloud, where there's a bit more scaffolding and support provided by the teacher. This information can also help you to determine data to recommend a placement level. Most often when you're grouping your students, and we're going to talk much more about this in a later webinar session, their placement level for guided reading is going to be that instructional level. However, every now and then when you take all the information together, you may end up making some different choices about where to place them, either slightly above or slightly below where their instructional levels go. Again, we'll talk more about that in a later session. Administered once, this information can help you to form initial reading groups, grouping students who are at the same or very similar instructional levels. A good place to start your instruction. It's going to help you to select text. We know that matching text to readers is an art form. And so finding out their different levels is going to help you pair them with the text that's going to offer opportunities for success, yet continue to stretch them as readers so they continue to grow and develop their abilities. This information helps you to plan instruction. We're going to be looking beyond just the level, just the accuracy, just the comprehension score, to really analyze what is it that students do when they get to the point of difficulty, when they get to the point of error. How are they thinking about text? How does their reading sound? And then we take all that information and using alongside our literacy continuum that we'll also be dipping into to pinpoint specific behaviors to notice, teach, and support. And what that does is it helps to take our instruction from that of the level of a general practitioner to more like that of a surgeon, where we're really going in with a laser-like focus to teach and support behaviors that help our readers grow. And then also administered once, it helps us to identify children who need intervention. The chart that I showed you just a moment ago with those ranges of grade level expectations, that's just one that's going to help you to make some of those decisions, to see which students need something extra in addition to their quality tier 1 instruction to help them get that accelerated progress to catch up to their average achieving peers.